extraordinaire, Stro Elliot.
Hello, 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 hello. Can you hear me?
How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
Good. I know you were half suspecting that I might be Questlove based on some of the. Questlove has taken, I think when he really likes the guests who we've had on our show, he talks a lot of shit and tries to intimidate them. I don't know if that's consistent with your working relationship with him, but.
That sounds on brand. That sounds on brand.
Yeah. Well, then that's good. We'll see if he pops up. He was giving some other people some grief in passing.
I figured as much. Like, I don't know what his final score was, what his final tally was, but I would imagine that whatever that score is, if I land anywhere below that, my job might be in question. So there's a lot riding on this.
Well, yeah, we'll see. He's a member of our 13 club, so it's a 15-question competition. So he's in the 13s, and we only recently got a couple of 15s. We had Headcrack, the media. He's like a radio personality and MC. He was in the 15s. Shout out to Recognize. Recognize is in the building. This is a reunion. This is great.
Miami family in the building. What up, Ray?
Yeah. And then we also just had on Monday, we had why am I blanking out for a second? Who got it on Monday? Monday we had a second edition to the Perfect Score Club. It was I'm gonna feel like such an asshole. Oh, Mr. Len from Company Flow. Mr. Len. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
but the talent is mapped out throughout the spectrum. So you're gonna be in good company no matter where you land.
Okay.
But
That's all I have.
Yeah. Let's not belabor this, but I just want to know how are you holding up? I'm kind of through with asking people how they're doing in this endless summer that we find ourselves in. But how was your day today? Like, what's going on in Stro Elliot's world today?
It was somewhat productive. I've been working really hard on trying to finish this particular project, and it had been pretty difficult to catch any creative wave for a minute. The temperature in the country right now is really weird. So, I figure myself to be a somewhat empathetic person. So, even though I'm not the person, directly being affected, on a lot of these counts, both with, what's going on with the coronavirus, what's going on in the streets with the police and everything. Yeah. It's still a lot to kind of take in and kind of empathize with when you put yourselves in the shoes of these families and these people that are going through all this. So, but I've just been trying to kind of push through, try to distract myself, and it's been a little bit harder lately. But I go through waves. I feel like everybody is kind of going through waves where you have good days and you have bad days. So it is what it is.
Absolutely. I know I've seen a lot of people and on my radar as well. Like you've been speaking a lot about. You've been speaking candidly, not just like, oh, I'm Stro, the producer or the musician. Like you've gotten very candid about your commentary on a lot of this, and I think I speak for everybody who's been watching it. That like, it's really great. It's just like it's an honest voice, and it's like it's a genuine perspective, and I think that takes a lot of bravery, I would say, to speak out about these things in the vulnerable, candid way that you have been. So props for that.
I appreciate that. It came from I think that a lot of people who really know me well hit me up and thought that was surprising because I'm not a person that usually, speaks about a lot of things in public, at least something that I've found to affect me so personally. But it was just getting to the point where I felt like the longer I stayed quiet of it and didn't present at least my perspective of what I saw going on, that it was an opportunity lost to not only give a voice to other people who felt the same way, but to really just kind of state my claim out there, because as a person that's in, a high profile band, it's very easy to kind of get wrapped up in the fact that and forget about the fact that people kind of expect things from you sometime, or they may kind of put certain things on you that are not necessarily true. If you're a person that's viewed as just being comfortable and just kind of on their own world, you're a person that may be deemed as not being affected by the things that go on. And it just wasn't true. And I think for me, more than anything, I just wanted to kind of put my 2 cents in, in what I thought was just kind of a widespread kind of a mess of misunderstanding on a lot of things that I was seeing, specifically in the comment sections of some of these posts. So
yeah, that's a dangerous battleground, and sometimes it's not even you're not even intending to step into a battle. You know, you're just like,
yeah,
it's a comment section.
You're gonna lose some limbs regardless. So.
Absolutely, beware the mind-sweeping fields of the comment section. Well, we're going to get into it, and we'll be, we'll sort of be talking about a lot of things, and we like to go down the rabbit holes on this show. And I will say again, I like to preface all these games with, we have two schools of thought, Stro. There are some guests who swear off of using the comments in the chat section for help, and others who, when they feel like they're in a tight spot, they do look. We don't judge either way. Just know that it is an option. I can't say that they're always correct, but they are very vocal. So
okay,
yeah.
So it's a very visible lifeline, consistent lifeline that I got going on here.
Absolutely, perhaps with a slight delay we find sometimes, but
sure.
Just keep it in mind. So we're going to get into it. Our first round of the night is called "The Choice Is Yours."
All right.
And this is our multiple choice round, and we're going to get right into it. This is just general multiple choice. Here we go. The first question. In 2006, Questlove, the man who was harassing you earlier today on my Instagram page, and James Poyser from The Roots recorded a remix album that never saw an official release for this artist. Was it John Legend, Nelly Furtado, Gwen Stefani, or Pharrell Williams?
Wow. Those are all very tricky, because you could, at a certain point to maybe things that he's worked on with those individuals. So it would throw you for a loop. But I'm not going to tell you how I know this even before I met any of those guys, but I believe the answer is D, Pharrell Williams.
He says D, Pharrell Williams, with a little bit of intrigue as to why. And guess what, folks? He is absolutely correct.
It's a crazy dope album. I really wish it did see the light of day.
And I've kind of given up on hoping for it, because at this point it's like, I mean, I guess they could do like a 20th anniversary,
They could. I would feel like I would venture to guess that maybe Pharrell would just do something else, not that he would be against doing anything else with those people involved, with Amir and James and everybody involved, but he seems to have his eyes on just doing the most different things as possible. Like I feel like he would view this as a been there, done that situation and want to do something different, but it's still a crazy project.
And speaking of crazy projects, you are involved in a crazy project now, which is being a member of the fucking Roots crew, which, as I was saying before you came in, like you had a career, and you've had a career. And for those, especially for the type of people who watch our show, you've definitely been on the radar for so many of them. But what was that like? Do you still find yourself sort of pinching yourself that you are not only in what is inarguably the best band in hip hop, but also on this platform of, I know that you've performed with Pharrell probably at this point, and you probably performed with a lot of the people that we're going to talk about in this entire game. What has that experience been like for you?
It's been really, really cool. It's been really interesting. It was very interesting at first, just because I felt like I was thrown into the deep end. Because I joined the band in the summer. And as every other member of the Roots knows, like the summer, being a Root in the middle of the summer is insane, because, there's the Fallon schedule and there's kind of the regular Root schedule, but things really get turned up a notch in the summer because there's significant time off from Fallon. So we hit the road pretty heavy.
Right.
So, my first 2 months in the band were kind of a whirlwind. Like it was a lot that I don't necessarily remember until I look back and I kind of go, oh, wow, yeah, we did that. Oh, yeah, wow. Oh, yeah, I was there. That's cool. Yeah, but after catching my breath for a while, it's just been really cool to be around, people who have experienced that much in the industry. On top of just experiencing that much in music. I mean, the entire band, the DNA of the entire band is, you can take one member and talk about what they've done in the industry. And,
right.
The fact that the band consists of so many of those people is insane. So I find myself trying to earn my keep on a daily basis, and trying to measure up with what's going on. But it's incredible. It's the most fun, and there's a part of me that has the ultimate survival's guilt and feeling guilty about how much fun I have, being with these guys on a daily basis,
Absolutely, but let's just reiterate: you are no slouch yourself, sir. It's not like you were some, unknown, unproven talent. And I just was thrilled, personally, on a personal level, to see an Ableton push make its way into the, Tonight Show repertoire. Like that was cool for me. There's a little behind the scenes here, but gang, represent.
That's what I think.
I use it for more than just programming cues for a trivia show, but
they actually asked me a choice. They asked me, when I first, I spent the first week just watching, my guy Aaron Draper, who was filling in, and just to kind of get a read for how the show works, Fallon specifically. And they gave me a choice. They were like, well, what do you want to use? Do you want to use real percussion, or do you want to, whatever? And Amir was very adamant. He's like, look, do whatever you want to do, whatever is comfortable, whatever you like to use on stage. And so, it was a really cool opportunity to get to bring, not only something that I was very comfortable with, but something that I thought was very revolutionary in kind of music, which is this particular instrument. So, big shout out to the people at Ableton that keep me stocked on that.
Yeah, shout out to Cole. All right, we're going to move on to our second question in this round. Lin-Manuel Miranda went to high school with and was bullied by this rapper. Was it Immortal Technique, Sticky Fingers, Fat Joe, or MF Doom?
Wow. It's interesting that somebody would bully, Alexander Hamilton.
Well, this was before he was Alexander Hamilton.
Sure. They didn't know. Wow. Yeah. I'm trying to think of who. I don't think it was Doom. If it was Doom, which Doom was it?
It might have been Doom, but it wasn't even really Doom.
It wasn't even really Doom. You know what? I'm gonna take a swing here, and I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go with my gut and say A, Immortal Technique.
He says A, Immortal Technique, and he is absolutely correct. He's told some stories that apparently Immortal Technique used to put him in a garbage bin, like a garbage, he was. It doesn't seem like a huge shock that Immortal Technique was perhaps working through anger issues in his adolescence. But
that picture is so accurate too. It looks like he just got done throwing somebody in a dumpster.
That's actually his high school yearbook photo. That was his sophomore year. He was.
There you go. Sometimes a picture tells you everything you need to know.
Absolutely. You also were involved in the Hamilton mixtape, which again is just this bevy of cool projects that have sort of been on your radar. What was that experience like working on the Hamilton thing, which is now the musical? That is the musical.
It was really crazy. It all kind of happened on accident. I just happened to be in the studio. And this was actually before I joined the band officially. Okay. I was in Electric Lady Studios, basically helping, as one of the producers invited to help the Roots work on the next album. And there was a gang of people there. There was Knife Wonder, there was Kareem Riggins, there was the internet had the A room, and they stuck me back in the B room. And J Period, the homie J Period, kind of got roped into doing it just kind of in the same way. He just happened to be there, and Amir was like, "Hey, so there's this mixtape situation. You do mixtapes, So in between me kind of working, J Period just kind of asked me. He was like, "Yo, I got this idea. Would you be down to maybe put some music to whatever?" And he gave me what he had. I worked on it for about an hour and gave it to him, and honestly didn't think anything of it. And meantime, I'm hearing all this about Hamilton and how great it is, and and it's amassing all these accolades and whatnot. And so to be a part of the mixtape that kind of accompanied all that movement was really humbling and really great. And I was really happy when the final product came out and the work that I did made the cut, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times you can work on things and they'll decide at the last minute, nah, that's not really needed, when they're right. That and whatnot. So the fact that it was on there, and a big shout out to J Period and everybody else involved, and obviously, Lin-Manuel Miranda and his involvement in everything, is just, I couldn't have been happier with how it came out.
That's incredible. This feels like a hip hop confession here, but maybe it's not. I still haven't seen Hamilton.
I still have not seen it either. I have not even watched it on the Disney app either, and it's been
Not,
there for a minute.
well, it's long is part of my resistance to it. I've been told it's very long, so it's just like I need to carve out time. And I'm not the biggest musical guy either, so I will admit I'm a little skeptical about it. But everybody
See, and I
sings its
feel
praises.
like everyone has said that. There's been skeptics who have been like, "Yeah, I'm not into that, whole musical thing." And I'll be honest, like, I'm not a huge musical dude. I've always had a fascination with musicals. I went to see the Phantom of the Opera when I was young, in my early teenage years, and I loved it. I thought it was really dope, but haven't
Yeah.
really been to anything else since. And being in New York for the past 3 years, obviously with Broadway just around the corner from where I work, there's been temptations to go see it, but not necessarily the time to go see anything, Hamilton or otherwise. So
You're in the roots, so how the hell would you have 3 hours to do anything?
see, and that's the excuse I try to use and wear on my T-shirt, when everybody asks that question,
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll reconnect for the next time you're on the show. Maybe we'll have seen it and we can
The
trade
homework.
notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat are singing its praises here. I don't see any shit talking, so that's good.
What's up, Lyric?
Recognize yeah, what's up, Lyric Jones? Former guest, Lyric Jones, that's the homie.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Third question. This Q-Tip solo album was originally slated for release in 2002, but it was shelved and finally released 7 years later. Was it Amplified, The Renaissance, Kamal the Abstract, or Something for Your Ear Hole?
I really hope there's a real project called Something for Your Ear Hole.
There is in my mind.
There is. I mean, I can only really, the closest thing I can think is maybe a Parliament Funkadelic project or something like that. We know Amplified came out. We know The Renaissance came out. And so I'm going to go with C, Kamal the Abstract.
Kamal the Abstract is correct.
Yeah.
First time I ever saw, really, I think heard about the Percussions, I saw you guys open for a Tribe Called Quest in like 2006, 7, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, that was insane. First thing first, before we move on though, this was an incredible album. I happen to be friends with people that worked at a radio show, and I'm not gonna throw them under the bus, but they kind of threw the wax out the window. And I just happened to be driving by and caught it and put it into my turntable. But it was incredibly underrated. I think people were kind of turned off in the fact that it was more melodic and he was singing. But some of my favorite stuff he's ever done was on that project. So, but the Tribe situation was really dope. The group was actually doing the Brooklyn Hip Hop Festival here in New York.
Yeah.
And got approached by Ali Shaheed Muhammad. He came to the show and he was like, "Yo, I really want you guys to open up for this. We're doing this short run or whatever." And I was in full, kind of, do you know who you are mode, like, as he's talking. And so the fact that it actually came into fruition and actually happened, was really great. I mean, every single night I watched the show. Every single day that we were at sound check, I would sit there and watch them check if they did indeed do a sound check. I can say without any wavering whatsoever, top 5, if not top 3, musical influences of all time. Definitely the reason I got into hip hop.
Yeah.
The first album was something that I had never heard, and I was kind of not full on hip hop snob, but there was a lot that I hadn't heard in hip hop. There was a lot that I had heard in hip hop that I felt like that existed in my father's record collection. People were sampling things that I was aware of. And it wasn't until I heard that first Tribe record that I was like, what is that? I've never heard any of these records before. So yeah, that was a huge honor. And that's something I think that I'll forever hold dear to me. The idea of being able to tour with them, and absolutely while Fike was still alive. So
yeah, and they tore it down that night. I mean, you guys both did, but I just remember it was they did a few reunion tours, but it didn't feel like, oh, they're rusty, like they're out of shape. Like they were tearing it down. Every night. It
was Tribe, and I missed them back in the day. I never got to see them when I was younger. So my worry was that I was gonna see them and it was gonna be a watered down version, but it wasn't that at all, not even close.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, that was my first time too. All right, here we go. This is our final question, our first round. The SP1200 sampler revolutionized hip hop production in the 1980s and 90s. What feature of the product inspired the 1200 part of its name? Was it that it gave 12 seconds of sampling time? Did it have 12-bit sampling resolution? Did the company Emu only make 1,200 copies of the machine, or did it have the ability to store 1,200 individual sounds at once?
Wow, that is a question. I've always wanted to own a 1200. I know they're making new ones now, but you know, you got to get the
You
OG
love
one.
the real deal. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Even though I won't knock
yeah.
it, it seems cool. I haven't dealt with it yet, but well, let me see here. Without owning one, I'm gonna again take a swing, and I'm gonna say it's because it had 12 seconds. I don't think it had 12-bit sampling resolution yet, and I don't believe they only made 1,200 copies of the machine. So I'm gonna go with A, 12 seconds of sampling time.
He's going A. The answer is actually 12-bit sampling resolution.
Really?
That was the claim to fame on the SP1200. So that's cool. You know, we got to pull out some tough questions for you.
Yeah.
You know, as
No,
you are
just
our
tell
hip
me
hop
what
brain.
that was. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. The 1200 in general is, for me, has been such an enigmatic machine. I feel like to this day I've never really seen one in person. You know, and so knowing anything about this machine whatsoever would be amazing. Would be, you know, incredible. But and obviously I don't know much about it. So, but
well,
okay,
I
you
have a
learn something
question.
new every day. 12-bit
Yeah.
sampling on that thing.
Well, I have a question for you. When did you sort of make the because when I saw you in like the percussions, and obviously this was just you on a stage, you were playing drums, like or there were like drum elements. But when did you sort of cross over into the becoming like a finger drumming, you know, aficionado? When did that happen for you in your career?
You know what's funny? Like the idea of finger drumming wasn't a thing to me until maybe like 3-4 years ago. I didn't even realize it was like a thing. The process of playing drums on pads for me came from two things. It was number one, the fact that I was one of those kids that would play on lunch tables in high school.
Yeah.
And you know, and I had it would go from very simple to kind of intricate. Like I had like a situation where I would have like a pin that kind of weighed in this finger, and you know, that would be like my kick drum if I didn't have access to something I could hit on the bottom of the desk or something like that. But the other side of that is that, you know, and I've told this story, you know, a billion times, and to Pete himself, is that Pete, you know, Pete Rock and CO Smooth's album and their songs specifically, They Reminisce Over You. I swore you could not tell me that he wasn't playing those drums live on pads. Because when you listen to that record, the drums move so much. And as a young listener, I'm listening to it. And at the time, there's no YouTube videos of Pete Rock making beats and whatnot. So in my brain, I'm going, well, okay, I have to learn how to play drums on pads because that's how he made drums so they reminisce over you. So that must be how you program drums. You know what I mean? So it became something I use as a production tool. You know, meaning like, you know, if I'm working on a beat, I would literally just have a jam session with myself along to whatever sample was loop or music that was going on. And it wasn't until I started watching beat making videos on YouTube that I just about threw myself out the window. Because it's like, are you kidding me? I sat there and watched people doing hi-hats one at a time and kick drums in, and I do that as well. But you know, it's a skill that I learned because I thought it was necessary. But you know, it served me well in the long run because after that, I started to kind of investigate other people who were doing it, and there are namely two people who I kind of wanted to be a hybrid of, and one of them being Jeremy Ellis, which I've had the pleasure of touring with. You know, in the Roots for the last 3 years. You know, and another guy named David Haynes. David Haynes is an incredible. I think there are people who asked me about, you know, applying organic drumming to a beat machine and how possible that is. And you know, David Haynes, I think, is a blueprint for that. And if you don't know who he is, absolutely Google him and his videos. I believe he's on IG. And you know, you can definitely see me trying to fit somewhere in the middle of what those two guys do. So
Yeah, yeah. Jeremy's a beast as well. Shout out to Jeremy. And you know, it's cool to see that there's like the whole community too. I'm really good friends with and lived for years with a guy who I think you know, Da Vinci as well, who is another finger drummer from Orlando, Florida, which is where I used to live. So you know, like seeing it's sort of like it's really cool. And I've said this to Amir before. It's cool that the Roots went from in the '90s having two beatboxers to now in the 2020 they have two guys on beatboxes. You know, it's like it's really like a cool thing to have seen the evolution of this thing. And that's why I said it's so dope to see a beat machine like that on the Tonight Show. You know, like
and it's a credit to it's a credit to specifically Amir and Tariq as well. You know, to constantly be trying to like push things forward. You know, it had been very easy for them to continue to just do the same live show over and over again. And I think, you know, not only incorporating what we do into their live set, but also, you know, opening it up to let us have, you know, have room to kind of really be instrumentalists and add to what's going on stage is just the most fun in the world. And having somebody else on stage, you know, you know, we did a gig with Ice Cube once, and we got to do some of the old, you know, Bomb Squad material with him, and that was just the most fun in the world. And you know, and Amir was like, he's like, he's like, I'd be lying if I didn't say this was always kind of what I had in mind. You know, when I incorporated you into the band, knowing that Jeremy was already there, because a lot of that stuff you can't really perform without having, you know, all these samples coming from all over the place. So you know, that's a testament to, you know, his foresight for sure.
And yeah, that's incredible. All right, we're gonna move on to our second round. The second round is called Picasso, baby. So in this round, I'm gonna show you a small piece of an album cover, and you have to identify what the album cover is. Shout out to House Shoes, who's also in the chat.
What up, Shoes?
What up, Shoes? All right, so here we go. You have to identify what the album is. Is this The Cool Kids, When Fish Ride Bicycles, Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon, The End of the Day, Anderson .Paak, Venice, or Danny Brown, XXX?
I know what Danny Brown's album looks like. I know what Kid Cudi's Man on the Moon looks like. I'm not familiar with what the Cool Kids album cover looks like, even though I was a fan of what they did. And so just by process of elimination, I'm going to go see Anderson .Paak, Venice.
Anderson .Paak is correct. Another drummer who has done well for himself out beyond the drumming, you know.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That dude is a full-on artist. Like he's
absolutely
the epitome of a full-on artist.
Yeah, he's great. Huge fan. All right, second question in this round. What album cover is this? Is it Trinidad James, Don't Be Safe, Watch the Throne, self-titled Watch the Throne album, Kanye West, Late Registration, or is it Step Brothers, Lord Steppington?
Step Brothers, Lord Steppington. Again, I know what C looks like. I know what A looks like. And that just looks, I feel like I remember that being a part of the cover. So I'm going to say B, Watch the Throne.
He says Watch the Throne. And he is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Everybody went nuts over, I played this when you came on, but you know, when you did this, and then it sort of popped up on radars again a little bit later with somebody who we're sort of talking about right now. What was that experience like?
Who do you mean? I have no idea who you're talking about.
Oh, then I might just be imagining it. But I mean,
no. You know what's really cool, and I think this is a testament to, you know, my relationship with DJs. DJs are, I think, from the beginning have been, you know, well, from the beginning of hip hop culture, they've been the people that kind of cultivate new music and kind of really get the new music out there. But I think for me specifically, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have much of a career without these DJs. Excuse me.
You're getting choked up over it. It hits you right in the face. Shout out to Rashad Ringo Smith in the chat. Legend.
Oh,
Yo,
Rashad. Hold on, let me get
Rashad,
some more real quick.
Yeah. While we're gone, Rashad, this is where I'm going to make my argument or plea to you that we need you on this show. This is a show, and we haven't had a lot of dope producers on the show. Like we have Stro Elliot on tonight, but we've mainly been, having artists, some DJs. I think we need Rashad. I'm just making my case here. Stro Elliot is back, and he seems better parched at this point.
Yeah, a little bit.
So you were saying that you hate DJs. DJs, you just don't fuck with them at all.
That's exactly it. Can't stand DJs. No, I think from the beginning of my career, the DJ was really important in getting our music out there specifically. And that song specifically, it won't leave. It's a song that was created in, let me see, 2004, 2005 maybe.
Yeah.
And so the fact that it's still here is definitely a testament to the DJs.
Yeah.
But this particular rebirth happened because of one DJ in particular, and that's well, at least with the Kanye situation. There are DJs who were playing it before. House Shoes approached me about putting it up pretty early. My good brother Jazzy Jeff has played it to death. J Rock, a lot of the beat junkies, like all these incredible, amazing DJs that I look up to, definitely championed it. But it found its way in the Kanye circle because of a DJ named Benji B. And Benji was a person that, he's a person that I don't think I've physically met Benji. But he's a person that I've kept in contact through social media, and it's just kind of the overall purveyor of just good music and and whatnot. So it was an honor first and foremost that that he thought about me in that sense. But he hit me up the night before they did Coachella, and he told me, he's like, listen, I think I got him to use this particular song instead of what they were going to do, and I think it could be really dope. Is it cool? And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't care. And so the fact that they continue to use it, and I believe they use it on the TV show and a couple things, and it continued to be a part of, his live set is incredibly humbling, and for me, I think people hit me up all the time and ask if I feel a certain way about it or not. And twofold, no. And also, it's me sampling an incredible group as well. So, I would only really feel slighted if I felt like Soul to Soul themselves weren't getting credited, or they weren't being touted as being the geniuses that they are for the material that I sampled, for that to even be the case. So no, it's incredibly humbling all the way around.
That's amazing. Yep. House Shoe says that their 45 is waiting for a repress right now. People are asking how they can get the Soul to Stro. A final question in this round. What album cover is this? Is it Kids in the Hall, School Was My Hustle, MOP Foundation, Kev Brown, I Do What I Do, or Audible Doctor, Brownies?
Wow, this one is tricky. Huh. Let me see. I don't think it was Kids in the Hall, School Was My Hustle. I feel like I'm familiar with that cover. I'm not familiar with Audible Dr. Brownie's cover, which makes me believe that it might be that one. It's not Kev Brown's I Do What I Do. I know what that cover looks like. So I got to narrow it down to, I think, either B or D.
We're seeing a lot of different answers in the chat as well. This is a stumper. We had to pull out a stumper on you, Stro.
Yeah. This one is crazy. Yeah, I know it's not A. I know it's not C. So it's between B or D. I'm trying. What does Foundation look like? Wow. I'm gonna take a chance here. Just because I don't know it. I'm gonna say D.
He says D. Moment of truth here. Not the Gangstar album, but the moment of truth in the life that we're living right now. The answer was Kids in the Hall, School Was My Hustle.
Really? Oh, wow.
Listen, Rock has put out a lot of records in the 2000s. It's fine. It's okay that you forgot this. But
see, and that's slightly because that's not I had a promo cover, and it didn't look like that. So it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse, but hey.
It's all good. You know, you were sort of, this was part of, or the Kids in the Hall record that we're talking about here was sort of part of like the second wave of Raucous, which you guys were also a part of for your the Sparrow album that the Percussions put out. What was what are your memories specifically of the Raucous era? You know, I know obviously when a lot of people think about like the classic Raucous era, they're thinking about like the generation before, but you know, there was a lot of cool stuff happening in the underground at that time too.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting time, you know. They were in like this mode of kind of like, I guess it was more of like their resurgence period where they were gonna try to, I guess, create like the second wave. So it was an honor to be included in that. But I think what happened at the time is that there was kind of this door closing as this other door was opening, you know. And I've had this conversation with Fonte and other people at the same time that were around at the same time, and it felt like everything that initial Raucous, you know, run was kind of on its way out by then, if not already on its way out. So, you know, it was cool to be a part of it. I think it was unfortunate, the timing and just kind of the wave that the industry was going. That it didn't create as big of a wave as it did the first time, but it still made it very cool just to be associated with a label that had that kind of pedigree. And then, you know, Brian and Jared were great about, you know, just really trying to continue to keep that legacy alive. And including us in it was a complete honor. So, you know, yeah, it was cool. And the Kids in the Hall guys were cool. I remember we did a showcase with them here in New York. And it was cool to see them live and kind of meet other people who would become affiliated with the label. They would eventually start the Raucous 50, which included, you know, a gang of artists. And so yeah, it's just cool to be into that legacy whatsoever.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to move on to our third round, and our third round is called Digging in the Crates. This is the sample round, so I'm going to ask you a question, play you a sample, and you have to answer the question about the sample that you hear. So let's get into it. The first question. The Knots-produced Murs song, Super Kojo Brothers, prominently samples music from this video game. I will play you the Murs song, and you must tell me what video game this samples.
Hey, I never gave a fuck. I remember vividly industry niggas hated us. Now I see my enemies, energy niggas changing up. Now all these niggas and bitches, they wanna hang with us. I never gave a fuck. I remember vividly industry niggas hated us. Now I see my enemies, energies niggas changing up. Now all these niggas.
Were you able to hear that? Were you able to hear that?
I did. It was a little bit fuzzy. I felt like I heard it better towards the end.
I'm gonna play you just the beginning where it is just the beat with no vocals on it.
Okay.
Hey, this motherfucker with a bottle.
Is it Super Mario Brothers, The Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy VII, or Lemons?
Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, and this is double-edged because I also fancy myself somewhat of a gamer. So from a sample base and from a gamer base, like this could really harm me moving forward. But I'm familiar with Super Mario Brothers. It doesn't sound like anything from Super Mario Brothers. I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy dude, but I believe, and mostly just because I feel like I recently tried to sample something from this particular game. I believe it's B, The Legend of Zelda.
He is absolutely correct. Legend of Zelda.
I'm safe.
You're safe, but none of us are safe from Knots.
Nobody is safe from Knots. Knots is, you know, if he's not properly rated, he's absolutely underrated. I mean, all you have to do is follow this dude on IG. Like, he cranks out the amount of heat that he cranks out on a daily basis of what people try to crank out over the course of a year. And it's just very unfair. And just like, it's nothing. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. Like, he's beyond a problem.
Knots makes the hardest beat on anybody's album 5 to 7 times a day. And it's easy. It's crazy. All right, second question. Jay Dilla sampled Mike Hankinson's Toccata and Fugue in D minor for a song by this artist. So I will play you the Mike Hankinson sample, and you have to identify which artist Jay Dilla produced this for. Is it Guilty Simpson, Madlib, Oh No, or Fat Cat?
I know this answer, but that's tricky because I believe that Guilty is on the song. I think, if I remember, it's been a while since I've heard it. But I don't think it's Madlib. I don't think it's Fat Cat. I do believe that it's C. Oh No.
Oh No is correct.
And is Guilty on that song?
It's actually Roxy is on this song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roxy. And how she says Royce in about 12 seconds as well. I don't know what he's referring to there on that. Is Royce on this record? Okay, well, I don't know. We'll get into it. Obviously, Jay Dilla is such a huge influence, and I know we have about 14 minutes left before Instagram cuts us off. But gun to your head, what are your 3 favorite Jay Dilla productions?
Oh, that's a difficult question. That is a difficult question, but gun to my head, ooh, wow. I have to go with the record that messed me up initially, and that's easily Players. Players messed me up. I was depressed for months. You know, the whole Fantastic Volume 2, I was depressed for months. That messed me up. We'll go with Players. We will go with, this is a question. We will go with the joint that ended up on Q-Tip's album, and it's his, I forget what they ended up being called on Q-Tip's album, but it was him flipping the Jackson 5 dancing machine. That's a clinic in chopping a sample and breaking up a sample if I've ever heard it. It's stupid. It's beyond stupid. It's ridiculous. And if I had to pick a third one off top, wow. If I had to pick a third one off top.
There are no wrong answers.
That's the thing. There are no wrong answers. I would maybe have to go with, Running. Far Side Running.
Classic. Yeah. Not mad at any of those. All right, final
Move,
question.
that was the name of the record. Maybe it was called Move, yeah.
Yep. Which of these artists has not sampled Bouncy Lady by 1970s R&B group Pleasure? I will play you the Pleasure song in question. Who has not sampled it?
Who has not sampled it? Let's see. So, no, Jeff used it. Pretty sure Big Daddy Kane used it. Did Eric B. and Rakim use that? Yes, they did. So my answer is going to be D, J. Rue.
He's going J. Rue. All right, moment of truth here. We got... Secondly, we have Kane. We've got, now you're making me nervous here because now you're making me doubt it. So if you can refute this, we'll strike it from the record. But I got J. Rue using it. The drums.
Wow.
So but I don't want to tell the great Stro Elliot that he's wrong about Eric B. Rakim sample.
No, listen, I absolutely have the capacity to be wrong. The thing that's tricky about that, and it's the thing that's genius about Primo in general, is that it could be those drums and chopped up in a way that's, that Primo does to kind of cloud it or whatever. It's interesting that you play that. Even as you play that, there's a part of me that still feels like it's not that record, but I wouldn't doubt that it is.
All right. Well, we are going to say that it's Eric B. and Rakim, but we'll see how this plays out. You got me all in my doubts now, Stro. You're in my head. You're in my fucking head. What am I going to do?
Okay. Ow. Okay.
But all right, we're gonna move on to our final round. Final round is Time's Up. In this round, I'm going to present you with 5 questions. You'll have 90 seconds to answer 5 questions in the round of your choice. These are your categories for the night. Category 1 is low key. These questions are about keys. Category 2 is guess how many unique ways Black Thought mentions Philadelphia in a Roots song. And category number 3 is Jay Dilla, the MC.
Ooh.
You get to pick the category, and you will have 90 seconds to answer 5 non-multiple choice questions in the category.
Ooh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Let me see. Guess how many unique ways Black Thought mentioned Philadelphia.
So, and I'll clarify for that one, for that round, it's an over and under. So I give you a number, and you tell me if it's over or under that. We counted. We did the work here. This is not a gag one.
I feel like on a daily basis, I hear different terms for things Philadelphia based. So I might stay away from that one. Also, sure. to still keep my job in case I get anything wrong here. Low key, these questions are about keys. You know what? I'm gonna go with what I feel like I know. I'm gonna go with Jay Dilla, the MC.
He's going with Jay Dilla, the MC. So here's the rules. I'm just gonna go over them one more time for you, Stro Elliot. You have 90 seconds to answer 5 questions. If you do not know the answer, you can say pass, and we could come back to it. If you get it wrong, the question is burnt, and we're done with it. Again, you have the chat to rely on. There's a little bit of a delay, but I think we got a good Dilla crowd here. And I have OC's times up here, timed to 90 seconds. So when we stop hearing OC, your time will be up. So you're going Jay Dilla, the MC. Yeah. Here we go. Are you ready? 90 seconds on the clock.
Yes.
Here we go. This record label put out JD's first album as Jay Dilla. Welcome to Detroit.
That would be BBE.
That is correct. This Detroit-based group featured Jay Dilla on their first album's opening track, Shotgun.
Who are the Platinum Pied Pipers?
That is correct. This track is the only A Tribe Called Quest song to feature Jay Dilla's vocals. He's rapping on a Tribe song.
Oh, that's it's bothering me that I know this and I don't know this at the same time.
We can skip it and come back to it.
We can skip it and come back to it, yeah.
Okay. Though the song The Anthem was later remixed and released with Dilla production on the album The Diary, Dilla initially rapped the song over an instrumental by this producer. The song The Anthem.
Ooh. I'm gonna say high tech.
It was not high tech. Okay. This song features Jay Dilla rapping in the exact cadence of a shaker hi-hat.
Say that again?
This J-Lib song features Jay Dilla rapping the exact cadence of the beat's hi-hat shaker.
Oh, that's what is the name of the damn song? I'm failing so bad right now.
Our time is up, but I'm gonna let you get this in if you can remember it.
It's hold on. It's got the McNasty track.
That is correct. I will give you credit on that. It is the McNasty Filth. Yes.
Yes. Jeez.
Okay, so the 2 that you got wrong, the Tribe Called Quest song is That Shit. It's a
That's right.
Yep, and then Kanye West performed or produced the song The Anthem. It was the same sample as the Takeover. It was the dun 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 dun. Yep.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull it up. But listen, regardless, I want you to know, Stro Elliot, you are a champion in our eyes tonight. Hey. I'm going to total your score. I have one more question for you, and then we'll see if we have some time. We have about 8 minutes left before Instagram cuts us off. So if you guys have questions for Stro, drop them in the question box. But my final question for you is, who would you challenge to come on to the questions?
Who would I challenge to come on to the questions? Ooh, that's a good question. Let me think. Jeff would be great.
We would love Jeff. Yeah,
Getting Jeff on here would be great. If not Jeff, I would possibly, my man 14KT. I think for my man
14KT came to our show in LA. We
Did he?
do live shows in LA, and he's been to a couple of them. Yeah, so
Okay,
we should have him on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Those are great picks. You got you took some shorts throughout here. I'm gonna give you a bonus half point and round you up to 11 over that Eric B and Rakim. So you got 11 out of 15 right, which puts you in great company. I'm just gonna rattle off some of the names in the 11 club. You're sitting there with J Live, Russell Peters, Chubb Rock, our guy Recognized who's in the chat, To Hear More, the comedian, DJ Mr. C, DJ Mighty My, Diallo Riddle. I mean, listen, the 11 club is a fine place to be.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in company with the guy who's responsible for Drop the Low for Jesus. So I can't ask much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, and you got a song on Sunday service, and that is an entire Jesus reference there. We're gonna get into some questions on the chat, but because sometimes we get cut off here, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you. Anything you want to plug to people in terms of what you have coming up, any projects?
Let's see, what can I speak about? There's some things in the work for sure. I would say just in general, keep an eye open for anything with my name attached to it. The roots are always working. So there's always stuff going on there. Black Thought is continuing to work and put out stuff. I'm working on a project now, which should be really cool. It's been a slow grind, but I am looking forward to getting it done. Just in general, I'm just trying to work and get as much done as I can, especially now where there's definitely time to do so.
Yeah, that now is the time. All right, we're going to get into some questions real quick before we get cut off here. This is a good question. Absolute Insight says, what are your means for unwinding from touring? And I would sort of maybe even expand on that question a bit, because it's not like you really ever get off tour when you're in the Roots, but how do you sort of relax? Is that something you've had to learn?
Yeah, I would say over the last 3 years, I did have to kind of learn and create little moments. You take little disco naps here and there. But in general, I'm a person that can, I can zone out anywhere if I throw headphones in, whether it's me listening to music or me listening to a podcast. As I mentioned before, I'm a gamer, so sometimes I'll get lost in a game when I'm at home and whatnot. But nothing too unusual. It's somewhere in the middle of those three things.
Yeah, those are good tactics. All right, let's see. We have a question from Steve. Well, actually, we already sort of addressed this. Hearing the Sunday service incorporate Soul to Stro, so we're gonna skip that one. We've already heard it. I have a question for you. When are we getting this new Roots album? Because it's been a minute. Like, this Endgame thing is becoming a little legendary. I mean, it's a legendary group. So,
well, it's the East Coast version of Detox at this point. Which is amazing to be a part of, and not being able to really talk about it and tell people when they can expect it. but I will say this. There are not people who are more meticulous about putting out great product, than Amir and Tariq specifically. And, when you incorporate everybody else that's in the band, and, now myself included, I think you just really want to be able to put your best foot forward. And so I think, even though it's been years of kind of chipping away at ideas and whatnot, I think, it's not right till it's right. I know that's kind of a cop out, you know what I mean? But, with this kind of schedule as well, and with everybody kind of having a million things to do, that kind of adds to it as well. So, that's the best possible answer I can give at this point.
Seems politically correct, within bounds. It all makes sense. This is a question from Mr. Ivory Snow. Stro, will you finally drop a full album? I don't know. I mean, you've dropped albums. You
I've
have dropped
albums.
albums.
Yeah, I've dropped instrumental albums. There have been people specifically wanting me to drop something that's a little bit more vocally centered. And I've talked about it for years and years and years. And I've started projects and left them by the wayside. There's like, you know, a half a drive full of material that was supposed to be on a solo album that was supposed to come out years and years ago. Every couple of years, I feel like I revisit it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my toe into the water by releasing an EP at some point. I'm not going to, you know, throw myself under the bus and say when. But it has been something that I've been, you know, thinking about back and forth. And I think an EP would be a great way to kind of open that lane. You know what I mean?
Is that like crazy for you to explore, you know, a vocal? Because it's been a minute since you've done vocal stuff.
It's been a long time, yeah. And I'm not even saying necessarily that it would be all my vocals, but, you know, just because, you know, me writing, I don't even remember the last thing I really sat down and write as full as an all-out verse. But, you know, it's a muscle that I haven't worked out in a while. So it would definitely take me building back up to that for sure.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we're going to be done in about a minute. So I'm just going to say thank you again so much for being on the show. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We've got a lot of cool people, a lot of people who've been on the show, a lot of friends of Stro. I'm seeing, I believe we have a percussion in the house as well.
My man Rez. Love Rez.
Yeah, Rez is in the house. So, you know, Stro, thank you again so much. We really appreciate you. We'd love to have you back on the show. We're working on doing a head-to-head game format on Twitch where, you know, it's a real game. Maybe we put you up against any one of these shit talkers.
Yeah. I'm up for it, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much. It was great having you. Be safe. Peace.
Thank you. Likewise, G.
Appreciate you.